Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi doing our live Q&A, the first one of 2023, January 3rd, not 20, so January 3rd, 2023, where we take your immigration questions live about general educational stuff so you can get a better understanding of the immigration system. Talk with so many of you every day in private as well. I'm so happy. There's so many fans that are just so appreciative and love to come on and ask questions. There you have a good time here as well. Try to take away add some transparency, talk away this mist of issues and hearsay and all this kind of stuff you hear about the system. Doing our best to just give you the facts as we see them. Do our best to help you with that. If you're watching the live show, we do give away free video consultations. All you gotta do is subscribe and write a good question. And at the end of the question, add the word consultation so we know you're interested in the raffle, the lottery to get a consultation. You're gonna weigh 3 of them every 10 minutes. 15-minute video consultations to talk privately. And if you don't have a question or you don't want to put a question, you can still put consultation. Only once though, don't repeat it or else you'll get canceled out. And we'll take it from there. IFO says, God, good evening. God bless you. God bless you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So have your questions start rolling in. If you haven't already and you're interested in getting a marriage green card or a fiance green visa, we have a special guide called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. It's the best one out there. It's free, 40+ pages, breaking down each step of the process. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com to download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. I have a lot of information there that could be very, very helpful. Having said that, let's, one for this is all general education stuff, not for individual legal guidance. And having said that, let's get the show started. So first question, Vikas says, hey, John, Happy New Year, same to you. Is interviews still being waived off in 2023 adjustment? Yes, they're picking up pace in card interviews. Now, whether that's going to happen to you, I don't know. But that is a common thing that's happening more and more where they're waiving adjustment of status. Adjustment of status, for those who don't know, is if you have a green card, you're getting a green card in the United States. They're working on waiving these a lot of time, which means not waiving the interview, which is usually when you get a green card, they have you come in person, and whether the embassy or in the U.S., and they talk with you first before they approve the case. Now, the embassy is still a requirement to have an in-person interview, but if you're dealing with USCIS in the United States, a process called adjustment of status through Form I-485, then a lot of times, more and more, not most of the time, but if you're employment-based most of the time, but for family cases, they'll have an interview, but they're waiving those a lot more. We're getting every week a marriage case where they waive the interviews, so it's pretty good. It just makes it less stressful just to get it out of the way. So very happy with that. Thanks for your question, Vikas. Mahesh asks, what is the scene of 2016 asylum application USCIS? I'm not sure what scene you're talking about. In general, applications for asylum, as well as most immigration cases, are really backed up. There are people who have had asylum cases been here 5, 6, 7 years. It seems like Mash is one of them. You can file a lawsuit against the government for a delay, but unfortunately, that's about it. Or else you have to wait for your turn for your interview for asylum. Afgaf says, do I have to send my marriage photos when applying for my wife? She lives overseas. So when you apply, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. Your answers are in there, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It has it in there, so download that guide. But having said that, when you are applying for a spouse submitting for I-130, there is a requirement that you send passport photos of both you, the petitioner, the U.S. person, whether a citizen or green card holder, and the foreign spouse. So the passport photo is a requirement there. If you're talking about other types of photos about your relationship, it's not mandatory you do it, but why not? I would send those too, just to help the application package. What I recommend is printing those photos out on paper and including as part of the application. Don't just send those thicker paper photos that we print and put in frames at our house and stuff like that. It's easier for USCIS to have a scan of that, a color printed out kind of thing, because they want to digitize all this stuff and reprint it. When you have loose photos, it's not really helpful for that. So please do that if you're going to send it. But with regard to photos, you weren't specific as to what kind of photos you meant. So passport photos, mandatory. Family photos, evidence of relationship photos, discretionary if you want to, and we almost always do submit photos, both together and with family friends and going out about to show the relationship that you're doing stuff together as a couple. But thank you for your question, Afghan. Abbas says, can removal proceeding adjust status? So your question doesn't fully make sense, but removal proceedings is when you're in court and you're being deported. Can you adjust status, apply for a green card there? Yeah, it's possible. You can adjust status before an immigration judge as well. Or you can have sometimes a case where it was sent back to USCIS, so you do adjustment of status with USCIS. It's a strategic decision. You should have an immigration attorney 100% if you're in removal proceedings, but it is a strategic decision whether to adjust status in the court or go back with USCIS, and it depends on what's available in your case. Simon asks, what does it mean when USCIS won't respond after a service request? Unfortunately, they just doesn't mean anything. They're not responding, really. Unfortunately, that happens. That's why clients always say, contact USCIS, do this. They do whatever they want to do. That's reality. They don't always respond. The strongest thing you do is sue them because they're in federal court. Then they have to respond if you want to go that route. But a lot of times you don't need, and a lawsuit is overkill. Plus, it's more expensive. Not everyone can afford it. So, but what does it mean when they don't respond? They just don't respond. That's about it. Prince asks, what's the cost to talk to you? Well, it depends on what your issue is. If you want half an hour or an hour consultation, a lot of times I'd recommend talking to my associate who's less expensive. I don't talk about costs and stuff here. It's not the appropriate place for that. What I recommend is to send an email to the office and briefly describe what the immigration issue that you have. So first of all, I can see if someone does, and then I can decide how much time and analysis it requires. For example, most consultations, 30 minutes are enough to get talk. Sometimes it goes 10 minutes over. I'm not complex about it. But some people, I got a message the other day saying, I got arrested. Will they get deported? Like, I don't know. I need to see the police record, this record, that record, and then talk with you what happened. All of a sudden, that's an hour consultation. So most likely you're not arrested in issue with police, but we just got to see what's going on. So I recommend emailing the office and briefly describing your immigration issue, and then we can take it from there. Emma Vikas says, Emma live chat says my interview is waived off. Do they provide accurate information? Most likely, but it's the government. Take it with a grain of salt. Prince asks, I want to marry a woman in the Middle East. What's the first step? Well, you should download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide to study and learn the process for yourself, Prince. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Once you have an understanding the process, then you interview lawyers to see which one is appropriate for you. Different lawyers have different skills, different experience. For example, in the Middle East has some complicated issues. You may want to have an attorney that deals with Middle Eastern cases a lot because they're more familiar with the embassy processing there and all the issues that are involved. The first thing is to educate yourself so that based on that, you can decide which lawyer is the appropriate lawyer, has the understanding that you need. So that's the recommendation. First step, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, read it, and start contacting immigration lawyers to schedule a private consultation. Any update on VAWA? No. Barry says, hi, could I apply for adjustment of status, a green card, as a mother, an American citizen, if I enter the U.S. with a visitor or the visa ESTA? Yes, that's possible. I'm not sure if you could do it because I don't know all the details of your case, but that is possible. And so let me back it up and see what all that means. So, typically, if you want to come and visit the United States, you need to have a tourist visa, which is you go to the U.S. Embassy, you ask for a visa to be able to visit the United States. However, to make things easier on a certain country, like 40 or 50 countries, they said that if you're from one of these countries, just go online, fill out this simple form, the ESTA application, electronic status travel authorizations, electronic system travel, something like that. And it's a 1 or 2 page thing. And if it's approved, then you could just go to the United States for 90 days. Now, one of the rules is that you're not allowed to change status or adjust status in the U.S. if you enter on ESTA. However, they carved out an exception where if you're a minor child of a U.S. citizen, a spouse of a citizen, or the parent of a U.S. citizen, then you can file for adjustment of status. Now, we got to be careful. Some issues pop up. Is the person petitioning your child, do they make enough money for the affidavit of support? Do you have any criminal history issues in the past? Did you, for example, make mistakes on your ESTA application that could be considered fraud? Do you have your birth certificate? Do you have a child's birth certificate? Are the documents proper? We get so many clients every month who come to us, and for the first time in their life, they may be 30, 40, 50 years old. They all of a sudden realize that their birth certificate has the wrong name on it, they misspelled, the date of birth isn't correct, it was registered too late, all sorts of issues pop up. So we need to see all these. So generally, can a person who's came on the ESTA, who's a mother of a U.S. citizen, apply? Yeah. Now, the child has to be 21 years or older, too. That's another thing. But again, we got to analyze your case. Now, my wonderful sister Katrina has named you as a raffle winner for a free video consultation, Barry Boo 2008. So please take a screenshot where you're watching this and email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com. We can talk privately about this situation. Again, it's info@jqqlaw.com. Take a screenshot and email it to me so I know it's you, and we'll take it from there to schedule a time. For those just tuning into the live show, we do give away free video consultations. All you got to do is like and subscribe while you're watching live and ask a good question. At the end of the question, a consultation, or just provide consultation, and my wonderful assistant Katrina will name off some people. We have 2 more free video consultations to give away. I can really help you out there. Now let me jump to a question on Instagram. Malik asks, if you are married and apply to a green card through marriage with U.S. citizen, and meanwhile apply to litter green card, is this a negative? Thanks for immigration. I don't know what you mean. Apply to litter green card. So you applied for a green card and they applied to. Sorry, Malik. There's something incoherent in your question. Oh, lottery. No, applying for the lottery. Just putting your name in for the lottery, green card lottery. Does it make a difference? I don't know why. If you have a marriage green card case, you apply for a lottery. That doesn't make sense. Maybe you apply for the lottery first. That's different. Typically, the lottery doesn't really make a difference. But I would need to know your individual case to see what's going on and really give you individual advice. But probably doesn't matter. Thank you for the question, though. Emma asks, if we're already married and I want to move to the U.S. to be with my husband, do we adjust? Well, the reality is you're not allowed to just enter the United States with the intent to stay here. If you're coming with a temporary visa or the ESTA. If you have an H-1B work visa or an L-1, that's okay. But for the rest of them, you're not allowed to misuse and abuse that visa category because it's considered fraud. So if you have a tourist visa and you fly in with the only intent to really apply for justice status in the United States, that can be considered fraud. It's not recommended to do something like that. So unfortunately, it won't work in your case. Now, a lot of times people have the case started, for example, and it takes so long. In the meantime, they come and visit their spouse in the United States. They come and go. During one trip, all of a sudden, like, I'm tired of being away from my spouse. I'm just going to stay on this time. I wasn't intending on staying, but I changed my intention. That happens. It's life. Imagine you be separated from your spouse for 6 months, 1 year, and you see each other. It's really hard to break away, even though it might have been your plan. You have a return ticket. You might have to go back to your home country. You might have work in your home country. You have family and stuff. It's just hard to be away from your spouse. So you can change your mind, but you can't just come in with the intent, I'm going to go to the U.S. to get a green card and stay there. Can't recommend that. It's against the rules to do something like that. Michael says, can I still qualify for citizenship when I'm charged with fraud? That's a serious situation, fraud especially, because fraud could be a reason for not only not getting citizenship, it could be a reason for deportation removal. Fraud it could be very serious. So 100% you need to contact an immigration lawyer as soon as possible to talk about that situation. But let's see how the different kind of offense isn't bad. First, you need to finalize. You have the charges dropped or you have a final conviction. And the conviction is not bad to stop you from getting a citizenship or deportation. Then it's best to wait 3 or 5 years, depending on whether you've been married and living with a citizen or not, to file it. So at a 5-year, for example, good moral character period ends, showing 5 years after being convicted, you've been okay. If there's still probation, you're not allowed to file. They'll deny your case. There's a lot going on there. You really shouldn't come on a live show like this. You should talk with a couple of attorneys in private. Fraud is a very serious charge for immigration purposes. 29 Super C, one of our regulars. Good night and happy New Year. Attorney Khosravi, same to you. Good to see you. All the best to you and your family. Law for 23. Thank you. God bless. Same to you. It's going to be a fun year. We've got a lot of stuff planned out. You're going to see a lot more of me and my associates doing a lot more content. So it's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully. Help a lot of people out in the immigration game. AgPath follows up. Is it a good idea to apply for citizenship through yourself or through a lawyer? Is it good to apply? It's not good or bad. It's, is it good to cut your own hair? Well, a lot of times I've cut my own hair before. It doesn't come out too nice. So, it's your decision. At the same time, if you ask a barber whether you need a haircut or not, they're always going to say, yeah, you need a haircut. So just to be frank, it's wise. I would hire an attorney myself. There's a lot that people don't understand about the immigration system. I just had a consultation last week where this guy went to citizenship and his case was denied. And then he came to me afterwards and there was a reason he had to undo the denial, to overcome it. But he thought that if he told the officer, they think of negatively of him, so he didn't say it. And I'm like, well, you should have said it. That would have fixed things. But now the case is denied, and he had to file an appeal form N336, spend $700 for the form. For me to prep it, it was going to be thousands of dollars for me to do. It's a lot of work to prep it. But if he had hired me at the beginning, I would have told him what to say during a consultation. I would just mention this really quick for an hour. I could have told him what to do. Would have fixed it. So at the very least, talk with the lawyer to see if there's issues, because immigration is so complex. You might not know the things that are problematic. That's one of the reasons people come to me and then their minds blown as to the things that are problematic, which they didn't think would be. Like, oh, it's a normal thing. But no, immigration's a crazy situation. So is it better to have a lawyer? Yeah, it is. But it's up to you. It costs money. It's expensive. And, better the lawyer, a lot of times the more expensive it is. But it's a personal decision. So God bless. Best of luck. Habib says, hey, I have a question. I'm a green card holder. I left the USA in 2019, applied for an SB1 visa. I did first appointment at the embassy for DS1. I got approved, and now applying for DS260. Do I have a chance? I don't know. It's not up to me. I mean, there's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance in the world. But Habib, it wasn't wise to go SB1 route. I don't want to go too much details. That's really something that's not intended for public. But you really should have talked with a good immigration attorney. It would have helped you much better than the path you went. But I can't go into it too deep right now. But I wish you the best in the process. It's up to the consular officer what they want to do. Be prepared for headaches going that route. But that's about it. Again, should have talked with the immigration attorney. But it is what it is. Big One Ass says, hello, sir. My dad lost his case in the Ninth Circuit. What should we do next? To file a case in the Ninth Circuit, there's been thousands of motions and paperwork and cases and probably 100 lawyer hours spent. For me to just say what's next in a one sentence thing, it's not something I could do. So talk with the immigration in private. There's just too much going on there to be able to answer here. Paul says, I just responded to an RFE. Will they notify me that they received my response on my USCIS account? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That just depends on if they get around to it. Simran says, can someone apply for their own asylum case without a lawyer? Yeah, anyone could do whatever they want. Yeah, you don't have to have a lawyer. It's not mandatory for immigration. Good luck. It's foolish. I gotta just say it's a foolish thing to do, but we'll go. Habib says, sir, I applied for S1 visa. I got approved for first interview. You already answered this question. We already talked about that. Jeanette asks, what's the process is best to apply for a green card with a citizen child or wife that is a resident? Citizen child has to be 21 years older. Which one's better? It depends on the case. So for example, if the child's probably the child because it's less paperwork. Janet, I don't know enough about the facts of your case and your relationship with the child and their birth certificates and the spouse, how much evidence you have there in your marriage history. I don't know what's going on with the financial support portion of your case, who's going to be doing it, and if you joint sponsors needed. So which is better? It really depends on your personal facts and situation. We could have a private video consultation. You could be our raffle winner for our second giveaway, Jeanette. So just take a screenshot of this. So I see your username, email it to me at info@jkhiala.com. We'll talk quickly in private, but there's a lot of factors that are personal to be weighed in. We've had situations where kids apply for their parents and then their relationship wasn't good, but they want to do the green card to help. Halfway through, they get into a big fight. And all of a sudden the child says, you know what, I'm stopping the green card process. So it's like, I don't think you have a bad relationship with a kid, and that's rare. But it's like we got to analyze not only the law, but also the personal circumstances of what's going on. And there's just too much going on for I to tell you individually what's best for you. We got to really see what's going on, not only in the paperwork, not only in the law, in the facts, but just heart, what's going on, the relationships, what's going on, all these different things. That's how a great lawyer does it. We don't just look at it like two-dimensional. We go 3, 4, 5 dimensions. That's the way I do immigration law, and that's why I've had a lot of success, because we go deep into your life. We don't just spend although these free video consultations are 15 minutes, we want a case with me. We spend a lot of time getting to know each other about each other's lives, and that helps me make a good decision, a good strategy about what's best for your case. And that's how it's done. It's done right, at least. Just like you're going to build a good house, you got to spend some time thinking about it, having good architecture and planning. Or you could just, the first guy comes along and really cheap, put 4 pieces of wood together and makes walls and a roof. Yeah, that's my perspective. Paul says, I have I-485 pending. I've started a little job. Will this affect my case? Paul, I don't know. If you don't have a work permit and you did false claim to citizenship, all these can be problematic if you're married to a green card holder, especially. I don't know. I can't give you that advice, Paul. BK says, if me and my spouse have a joint bank account together for expenses, but also individual accounts separately, should we only send joint account information for marriage-based green card, or do they need all accounts? They don't need any of the accounts, but if you're going to send one, send the joint accounts. Individual accounts make no difference for sure you have a real relationship. That's a worthless thing to send them. Mac Peen says, hi, John, does anything happen when you write a letter to a supervisor about misconduct of a USCIS officer? The officer knew that we were a real couple, was trying to fail our case by putting fake answers. It's bureaucracy. Does it happen? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if they're really trying to commit fraud, I mean, you should talk with a lawyer to probably help you out, or contact the Congress where you need help to make sure you're able to present your argument well. But that's a messed up situation. I'm sorry to hear that. It's really messed up. But when anything happened, maybe not. Probably nothing's gonna happen. Is bureaucracy, that unions, all this kind of stuff. But it's worth adding that in case this person is doing this regularly. At least there'll be a file on them. Bala says, what is the best way to withdraw a spousal petition that is at the NVC? You just contact the National Visa Center as the petitioner through their online portal and say, I'm withdrawing this case and I don't want to continue it. And if you really want to be extra, you send a letter to USCIS, withdraw your I-130, and you also email the embassy as well to really, put the last nail in the coffin. Luca says, attorney on the TN visa for Canada, easiest way to get green card. A TN visa, for those who don't know, is a special visa category that's for Mexican and Canadian citizens who allows them to come and work in certain jobs and occupations in the United States. Has no access to a green card. As just a temporary visa for working. For you to get a green card, it's a whole separate thing, completely unrelated to the TN. So it's not an easy way or hard way. There's no way to get a green card from a TN itself. Now, if you have an employer who's hiring on the TN who wants to apply for a green card, that employer could apply for you. Well, that's okay. That's one. It's not an easy way, but that's just one way to do it. But there's just no connection with a temporary visa like a TN to getting a green card. Del Torre says, I'm a permanent resident. I'm applying for citizenship this year. Do I need to renew my passport? No, it's not. You don't have to renew your passport, but it's good to have it for form of ID. Why not have a proper passport? User 59 says, can I renew my B1, B2 if my sibling filed an I-130 on my behalf? You could give it a shot. It's up to the government whether they'll approve it or not. BK says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important are social media records and communication records in the application process? It depends. If you have, some people have no evidence of their relationship. So if you have none, then it comes, you gotta get something. So you have social media accounts. If you have 5 kids together, it's zero importance. So you can't look at this stuff in exclusion or seclusion from everything else. You gotta look at your whole life and how the situation is. Again, if you have 5 kids together, it's pretty obvious you're really a couple. But if you have nothing, you just met like a month ago, and all you have are communications on apps before you got married, which people do come to me with these kind of relationships, then yeah, it's really important because you have nothing else to show. So you can't look at it in a vacuum like that. You need to look at your whole case and look at the whole picture about what's going on. Abbas says, I applied for asylum at the Boston airport and they canceled my visa for not booking a hotel. Is this legal? Once you file for asylum, they're automatically gonna cancel your visa because you can't use it anymore. You already show that you have intent to stay here. So I'm not sure booking hotel and stuff has nothing to do with it. They're gonna cancel the visa so you can't use it again, especially at Boston. So I'm not sure about exactly what happened. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but that's that. I got a quick question on Instagram. Fatimo says, I'm currently waiting a decision on my marriage-based green card. My sister also filed on my behalf and has been approved for years. I recently got a letter saying I have a year to respond. Keep that case alive to be safe, but you're probably gonna get your marriage green card. Next question on the other apps. Prince says, what's the website called where you go to look for a lawyer best for you? There's a lot of websites. There's Google, and you just put in that same thing, Google. I don't have anyone I recommend in particular. U.S. immigration talking, my marriage-based 10-year green card is still pending. Can I apply for U.S. citizenship? I don't know if you could apply because I don't know your case, but if you've been married and living with a U.S. citizen and for 3 years since after getting the green card, then we usually do apply for citizenship in most of those cases. Baby Kushi says, I'm going to file the I-824 for my approved application. Is that a good option? It's not about good or bad. It's if you filed an I-130, for example, and you mistakenly listed that you want to do adjustment of status when you're supposed to do consular processing, then you have to do an I-24 and or file a new I-130. It depends on what kind of case it is and that. So it's not about good or bad option. It depends on what you have to do to get the job done. So uh, that's the true answer. The question is not formally the best, not about being good or bad. It's like what you got to do is what you got to do, and that's that. But you really talk to an attorney in private. You already made the mistake once. That's leading to the need for you to file an I-24. For those who know what I-24 is, again, I kind of explained it. But if your case is stuck in the U.S., you need it transferred out. It's not always you made a mistake. Sometimes for example, did an I-140 work-based green card and you're here, but your spouse is overseas, you still need to file an I-24. And you should have done it with the adjustment of status in that kind of case, so as a separate thing. But you already probably made a mistake by not hiring an attorney, and you in this position, go talk with an attorney or two in private. A lot of lawyers don't know about the I-24, don't handle them frequently, so not as experienced. But do yourself a favor and get professional help on something like that. And I got tons of videos on. I got like if you I put an I-24 in Google, the first 10 videos on there are about me, and it describe just spend the time for free, watch the 10 videos, each one are like 5 minutes. You'll know the answer what you got to do for those 10. It's for free. Just all the videos are there. You just gotta look, and they're right there. Dawn says my husband came with a student visa before meeting him, but he overstayed a year and has 2-year rule. Will that be a problem? So if he has a 2-year rule, which means 2-year home residency requirements, he didn't have a student visa per se. He had a J1 cultural exchange visa or researcher visa, something like that. That's going to be a problem. You got to get that waived if possible before it could be approved. And overstay by itself is okay if you're a U.S. citizen. The problem will be with a 2-year home residency requirement. You got to get that waived. You need to talk with an attorney in private. Schedule a consultation with the office. That's a kind of deep issue. I'll just name you as the last winner of our raffle, Donna. Take a screenshot while you're watching this. Email to me at info@jklaw.com. We can quickly talk in private about it. Take a couple more questions and call it a day. Mary says, what is the best way to find out for spouse case if it's already at MEC and still didn't get interviewed? I mean, it's at the MEC and you didn't get an email saying to come to the interview. That's about it. There's no best way. It's just once you get a notice for interview, you'll get notified that there's an interview. I don't understand your question. Next question. Mopse says, is there any law for the officers prohibiting to be rude or threatening or question you for more than a certain amount of hours? They can question about whatever they want, but the manual says not supposed to be rude or threatening. I mean, threatening especially can be threatening to people. So there are rules against that. You got to be civil. You got to just talk like a human being, regular kind of stuff. It can't be rude. But sometimes they'll question you for 5 to 8 hours. Like they're all day things if they don't believe a relationship. That's one of the reasons you have a lawyer with you at these kind of things to avoid it. But yeah, that's about it. So I'll take 2 more questions and call it a day. Khalid says, when upgrading I-130 form, do we usually go to the bottom of the new category? No, that's not how it works. First of all, there's no upgrading the I-130. So maybe you start the case as an adult child of a green card holder, and then your parent becomes a citizen. The case just changes from an F2B to an F1. It's not upgrading, and it's not a bottom new category. It depends on what's going on. You're getting married, or you're single. Your parents are naturalizing, or they're green card holders. Your age is going above 21. It's below 21. There's other things going on here. Best to talk to you in private if you have these kind of questions. Debbie asks, I'm a U.S. citizen, currently pregnant. I want to bring my sister via visa. Do I need I-130 form? No, you don't need I-134 for a tourist visa. A lot of people mistakenly think this. Your sister just needs to go and apply for a tourist visa to come and visit if she can't use the ESTA. It may or may not approve it. Having I-134 is, I've talked to a dozen consular officers, and all of them said they don't care about that. Aksari says, how long do you have to stay and work in America as a permanent resident before you can petition? Once you're a green card holder or a citizen, depending on, you can start petitioning whoever is allowed in that category. There's no time you have to wait to be able to petition or work amount you have to do. Sandra says, can a U.S. child take chips and hips even before parents have a green card? Or is this public charge? They said that a child getting these benefits per se doesn't affect it, but I'm not an expert on benefits and stuff like that. Government benefits and payments. That's something I just didn't think about. So generally, they said in the recent stuff that a child getting it is different, but I don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert on getting government benefits and immigration. C user says, asking for a friend, can you expand on humanitarian revalidation for a petition filed by green card mom for a single adult child? Will it help also if a U.S. citizen, U.S. citizen? It's not humanitarian revalidation, humanitarian, the term, I forgot the term is, but it's not the way you say it. You can give it a shot, essentially replace someone who petition died and you want another person to come. Maybe it'll work. It depends on a lot of facts. So that's a big topic that needs to be talked about in private. Spencer, how long can I stay out of the U.S. with advanced parole for TPS? As long as that advanced parole is valid. So there's an expiration date on it. You got to get back in before the expiration ends. Mutha says, we are waiting for removal of condition green cards. It's been more than 2 years. We got stamped in a separate card for main travel. Is there any limitation on how we can use that? No, you could, if you got the stamp, you could use it. But now, if your case is pending this long, you got to be careful. You don't want to be outside and have the case be denied. So you got to be cautious. But there's no limitation on travel other than the expiration date on that stamp. Okay, we got one more question. Last one. BK says, my sister came on a tourist visa, got married after 2 months, not attended, by the way. She now lives with her husband's parents. Any tips for proof of living together without mortgage, rent bills? Yeah, look at their lives. How they meet, the communications. Do they open up bank accounts together? Do they go on any trips together? Can you get letters from family and friends about it? Do they have photos, family and friends? Did they have a wedding? Did they go have pictures at the wedding? It's on and on. There's a lot of stuff. Just got to sit and analyze your lives and stuff like that. They need to go talk with a good immigration attorney who talks about their lives, how they got to know each other, that could express the relationship on paper and also help them be prepared for the in-person interview if it's happening. All that's possible. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining today. Thank you, everyone, for all the kind words coming in as well. We'll be back again next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. East Coast time, Atlantic or East Coast time. We're here to answer your questions. If you want to schedule a private consultation, email me at info@jqqlaw.com. That's info@jqqlaw.com. Until next week, have a good one. God bless and Happy New Year.